Former Quebec Premier Jean Charest is in Vancouver today, pushing forward the discussion around Canada's aerospace industry, particularly its importance right here in BC. Welcome. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
So what can you tell us? Why is the aerospace industry, is it still important to Canada? How's it doing here?
It is, and in the industrial sector, this is the most important sector of the industrial makeup of the country. It's $25 billion in business in Canada and almost 200,000 employees. It's the area in which we do the most research and development. And here in British Columbia, it's very much a good news story. In the last 5 years, the association I'm working for now did a deal with the government of British Columbia to promote the industry, and we've seen some very important growth in the last few years here in the industry. 57% growth, 1,000 jobs, direct new jobs in the last 5 years. And here in British Columbia, Jen, there's close to 10,000 jobs directly. And so it's a good, and there's a lot of good news stories. Companies like Viking, for example, who just bought from Bombardier an airplane called the Q400, and they do the Twin Otter, the famous iconic plane, the Twin Otter, and the CL-215. That's the famous Canadair plane that does all the water bombing when there's fires. So it's a good industry.
And so why do we need to have a conversation over the aerospace industry?
Well, because there's no grand vision or overarching vision, I should say, of the future of the industry. This is an industry where governments work very closely with the operators, those who do the MRO, we call maintenance or repair or overhauls. And the competition is extremely intense from the usual suspects, whether it's Europe or the United States, but also new countries like China, India, Russia, Japan. And so we're lacking that broad vision, A. B, we lack that framework of government support, and it includes, by the way, the provincial governments. They have to be part of this because a big part of the future of the industry is the training of the people we need to be able to make it operate. It has a lot of value added. This is an industry that brings a lot of money into the country. But one particular thing about the industry in Canada is that we shouldn't typically have that industry here because we're only 36 million people.
Sure.
We don't have a base. And there's a reason why we have it. It's because governments decided we want this industry to be important for Canada.
And so what is Vision 2025? Where is that going to take us?
Well, a cross-country tour. I was in Winnipeg last week. We did Toronto, Montreal. We're going to go to Halifax and Ottawa. And the idea is to talk to the folks in the industry, talk to those who train them. I'm going to be at the British Columbia Institute of Technology today. I'll meet with some students and those who train them, provincial governments. And the idea is to table a report probably around March. And we're going to target the federal election campaign. We're very transparent about that. And what we're trying to do is inspire the federal parties to take up this issue, deliver a broad vision of what the industry should be so that we can compete with the rest of the world, and put in place support so that we can be as competitive and continue to have a big chunk of the business as we do now in Canada.
Okay, well that's perfect, because I was going to ask you, is there support at the national level? Is there funding in place for this?
There is, but it's evolved over the last few years. It's not as focused as we believe it should be. That's part of the story here. It needs to be more focused. It needs to be more tailor-made. There needs to be more of it, actually, because there is not a country in the world that has this industry that doesn't have government involvement, without exception, because the delays in investment is so long, the amount of money that's required, but it's an industry that pays off. When government invests in the industry, Jen, they make money out of it because the value added is so high.
All right. Thank you so much for coming in this morning and enlightening us with where our aerospace industry is headed. Good luck with the rest of your tour, Cross Country Talks. Thank you.
Thank you, Jen.
Ms. Jean Charest joining us.